I have a problem. I have a lot of Balisongs, and as I keep acquiring them and companies keep making them, finding ways to make them stand out both from an aesthetic and flipping standpoint is getting continuously more difficult. But by far my biggest problem is my custom modded Vulp Pro. And not the 800-pound sentient albino moose staring at me from just out of frame. Really? We're doing this now.
Yes.
Oh dear Lord, it talks. The modding possibilities are why I was so excited when the Vulp Pro was officially unveiled via a video that I put far too many hours into producing. The journey of creating the Vulp Pro is quite a tale, and I'll let Will be the one to tell it in our classic, oh my god, why did you put so much work into a Balisong video in the future. Those that follow me have seen me create customized Balisongs like my Serpent Striker V3, my ever-changing Squid Industries Nautilus, the ever-succulent and moist Octopus Factory Butter Knife, and even stuff like the custom polished live blade Vulp I made for Will last year. And my love for customizability is why I was so incredibly excited for the modding possibilities with the Vulp Pro. I knew we'd be able to dye the white G10 like anyone could, but there was this ever-looming presence lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike, and no, it is not the 800-pound sentient albino moose still staring at me from the corner. What do you want? It's Zippy Balisong once again. Zippy has come in absolutely clutch and sent me this whole suite of mods to try out. And as you can see, I like being able to stand now. I'm emotive. Look at me go. Whoa. I like the look of the Vulp Pro with the mods, is what I'm trying to say. I promise I don't think I have ADHD. Well, but if you wanted to go through this process yourself, is it really that beginner friendly? Well, I'm here to stumble through it and trip over myself. Also, you don't have to. I'll walk you through exactly how I disassembled the Vulp Pro, some of the issues you might encounter there, how to dye G10, how to install the Zippy hardware plugs, blade inserts, the side G10 piece, and answer the question of if any of this was even worth it. Which from a look standpoint, yeah, it's pretty good. I love it. But from a flipping standpoint, maybe not so much. So where do you even begin a mod like this? Well, it starts with learning how to even disassemble a Balisong in the first place, for which I highly recommend the video we made about disassembling, reassembling, and tuning the original Vulp. But for those watching this video, it's not that complicated, but there's a lot of little nitty-gritty details. A well-tuned bushing and washer Balisong is relatively easy to maintain, whereas bearings and washers and just washer Balisongs require a very specific tightness and thread locker to flip properly and maintain the tune. Products like the Vulp Pro come with everything that you need to maintain and fix it for a reason, but only do it if you know what you're doing or if you want to go on a wacky modding adventure like me. The Vulp Pro has a lot of parts to it. You have 4 G10 scales, 2 G10 side pieces, 4 screws, 4 barrels, 4 washers, and 2 bushings. So as you disassemble this guy, just try to keep track of where everything is. I use the Bally spindle from Bark Handle on Instagram to keep track of all my parts, which is also printed by Zippy. It's nothing crazy, but it's functional and it's a neat tiny dude. Much smaller than the albino moose. Yes, I still see you.
Hey, I'm big boned.
Since the G10 dyeing process is the most complex and tricky thing we're doing here, that's where I started. This is where some people have gotten their Vulp Pros and had a little bit of trouble. For some, the G10 comes out no problem, which was the case for me. But for others, it takes a lot of finagling to get it out of there, and people like Ethan from Blade Bias couldn't even get the bottom hardware out at all. But with some tricks, you can get them out, and you shouldn't encounter a situation where it's just completely unfixable. Pushing something like the included L tool into the barrel, then twisting the barrel out with the included Torx bit and a screwdriver should just pop out. Thank you Zippy for that trick, which helped Ethan get his out very easily.
Let's go. Zippy's the GOAT, dude. Zippy is just the absolute GOAT.
Issues like this ultimately come down to machining, tolerance, variance, and in some ways, quality control. Nabalis makes hundreds of these at a time, and not all of them will be perfect, but they're continuously improving their processes for sure. But overall, as with any Balisong, proceed with caution. For the G10, it's really just about slowly and patiently wiggling it out and not bending it too much. Getting your crusty hot dog juice stained fingernails in there can actually do a lot. For the side G10 piece, this is where a solid fingernail comes in handy again, but you can also just use a plastic spudger of some kind to pull it out. This part shouldn't give you any trouble. Once all the G10 is out and the hardware set aside, it's time to dye. No joke here. Really. The moose is gone. No joke. The last time I tried to do this, it was nearly a complete disaster. So we won't be doing that again. Ooh, I love being able to move. Look at me. Oh, I'm going out of frame. Ooh. Here's the recipe that I used for my die, which is the same that I used for my Serpent Striker V3 scales. I talk about this whole process in that video as well, and Blade HQ actually has an excellent video on how to do this, so I'll leave links to those videos. But overall, you need some gloves, some clothes you don't care about getting stained, some metal cans, a stove, some patience, and something to keep you company. You know, I've met literal infants that are not as needy as you are.
What? My love language is quality time.
I decided at the last minute to do a reverse fade that's going in different directions, and since the G10 scales need to be oriented in a specific way to fit, I needed to specifically lay out how I was going to dye each one. I made the totally epic pro gamer rower move of not boiling the mixture separately this time like I did, and just boiled it straight out of the cans like a normal human being. Also, yes, I use a PlayStation 4 controller as my teleprompter control. It actually works great. Heat up the dye mixture to about 200 degrees, then dip the scales into the dye. Since I'm doing a fade, I have to be extra careful to not go too far on one side with the dye. Throughout the whole dyeing process, I only had one major critical mishap. Dyeing the scales went great. I took my time with it, held them in for about a minute on each side, and then eyeballed where the fade needed to happen. And overall, it was awesome, went great. Because I was now doing a reverse fade, I had to change my plan of having a solid colored side G10 piece. Since the scales had a fade, I had to match it on the really tiny little G10 piece, didn't I? I'll just use a little pair of tongs, hold the G10 piece in a very specific spot, and grip the tongs very tightly. Brandon, I said very tightly. I said very tightly. I said very tightly. Yeah, so the first G10 piece fell fully into the actively boiling mixture. And dumping actively boiling dye that stains everything that it touches into a strainer and another cup as to not pour my entire dye mixture down the drain is exactly as fun as it sounds. But I did get the piece out of all of that nonsense.
I was so close to greatness.
Fuck. So one of the pieces has a weird fade, and I refuse to let myself be upset about the results, so suck it, you albino moose! No, for real? This is your food? Take it. Oh, sweet Lord in heaven. Hey baby, can you grab the box of spare Brandon clone parts?
Again? Okay.
Thank you. But overall, for only my second time doing this, I think it turned out awesome. Thankfully, the G10 dyeing is by far the trickiest part of the modding process. Putting the G10 scales back in is as difficult as you put them in. Ooh. The side G10 piece can go in first, or you can put it in last by just spreading apart the scales. And then I just grabbed the Acid Wash Vulp Pro blade that was from a previous version of the Vulp Pro that will never be available for sale, that didn't have G10, it was just a small upgrade with speed channels that Nabalis only did one time and only made one Acid Wash blade that I'm now stealing from the old version of the Vulp Pro and putting onto this Vulp Pro. Fun story, right? More on that in a future video. But for real, this blade looks sick and it adds a little bit of extra visual flair that I love. To attach the blade, make sure the bushings are securely in their slots, then put 2 washers on each side of the blade and pinch them between your fingers. Generally, you want the side of the washers with groove marks from the bushings to face the blade, or you can just use a new set of washers included with the Vulp Pro. Pinch the washers together to the blade, then slide the blade on. The Torx bit doubles as a pivot needle, and oh my god, wow, where is it? This thing is just, it's stupid good. This has saved me so much time. If you've ever put a balisong together, lining up the washers and the bushings and the barrel, it's just such a pain, but with this little guy, you just insert it a single time, you twist it, then you put the sex bolt on. It's great. It's worked every time. It's been super simple. Thank you, Nabalis. Then you can lather on your favorite lube. I recommend Super Lube or Carbon Honey. The Vulp Pro comes with a sample of Super Lube, and please use it because lube helps minimize tap and keep it flipping good. Please, actually, you'd be blown away how many people don't use lube and then complain about tap. And Super Lube is food safe, and I'm gonna abandon a moose gag that I had planned, and I'm gonna try it right now. There's a little drop on it. Okay, it's food safe, but it tastes, it's oil. Don't drink oil. Hirsch.gay, buy him a cup. Anyway, Moose, here you go. Here, try some. When tightening down the screws, give it a very good amount of force until it's hard to turn without really cranking it. The tuning on the Vulp Pros is so much better than the original Vulp, and all the models I've taken apart have gone back together very smoothly. But now for the Zippy inserts. Somebody stop me from licking things. Moose? As you can see, he pretty much sent me the whole kit and caboodle. Blade inserts, hardware plugs, replacement side pieces, bite handle indicators, pretty much everything except new end caps. I use his mods in plenty of my different Balisongs like my Prisma Pro, the Nabalis, the Vulp, the Serpent Striker, and now the Vulp Pro. They always add a unique flair and are intentionally designed by Zippy to help customize the balance. I've never had any form of sponsorship or financial affiliation with Zippy. He's just a really cool dude making really cool stuff. Unlike other Zippy mods, which require a fair amount of disassembly and a pretty precise process that needs to be followed to get them properly installed, these mods are super straightforward. Each mod really just has to be pressed into place to function properly. It requires more force than you'd think and sometimes requires being pushed into a table to be properly installed, but overall, the process is very simple. And once I got closer to completing the modding process and putting that final piece, I realized I like B-roll. So in my humble branding clone opinion, I love everything about the look. My favorite colors are black, red, and purple, and it just features everything that I love about this hobby and how much you can modify certain Balisongs. G10 modding? Little chaotic, little wacky, but very worth it. But were the Zippy mods? Maybe. The Vulp Pro bottom hardware is designed to add more momentum to the handles. And removing them honestly makes the flipping experience still very pleasant, just slightly different. It doesn't carry momentum as well, and it doesn't chaplain quite as good, but overall I can see people enjoying the hardware plugs a lot. Do know that they are very tricky to get in and out, but Zippy has a whole modding video explaining exactly how to do it. And if you're interested in getting these, my recommendation would be to just take out the bottom hardware of your Vulp Pro and see if you like how it flips, since the experience is very similar with and without the plugs. They're mostly just there for the look and to keep the G10 in place. Swapping the side G10 pieces doesn't change the flipping at all, and are mostly just there to look stylish, like a bearded man in multiple bathrobes. Love you, Zippy.
When are you gonna wear multiple bathrobes?
Shut up, you! You know that you only exist so that I don't have to spend my precious time doing branding clone visual effects gags. Ugh, why? Why do all of you have guns? As for the blade inserts, there are some with slots for tungsten weights and some without. They look awesome and are by far the easiest to install, but being paired with the hardware plugs, this is where the flipping experience starts to suffer a little bit. Removing the bottom hardware does pleasantly alter the flipping experience in certain ways for me, but by also adding the blade inserts, the weight distribution is just a little too focused on the middle and the blade. But since I am extremely grateful to have the luxury of pretty much constantly having stock Vulp Pros at my disposal, this is exactly how I'm gonna keep this bad boy. I'd say do the hardware plugs or the blade inserts, but not both. With just the blade inserts, it retains the momentum of the stock experience while adding blade weight, which is a great time to me. But I'm of course not the best at flipping, so you can take my opinion as more so just an intermediate lower level flipper. But that's the wonderful part of this hobby, is that you can entirely disagree with me for any reason you want, because none of us have a universally applicable opinion on any of this bullshit. And for those that love a good sound test, here is a completely stock Vulp Pro. Filmmaking! And here's my custom Vulp Pro with all the Zippy mods installed. They honestly sound very similar and very good to me. Look at us go, making products. It's tough. If you'd like to purchase any of the stuff listed in this video, links for all of it are going to be in the description. If you have any questions about this whole modding process, I'll do my best to respond to as many comments as I can. And if you've modded your own Vulp Pro, you can join our public Discord, or you could send me photos of it on Instagram at @TheBrandonBaker. I honestly am super excited to see how crazy people get with these. As I'm filming this, these mods just came out, and I know there's going to be a flood of really cool stuff. So please send it my way. And huge thank you to Zippy for sending these mods for free. This was a super fun process, and I recommend anyone with a Vulp Pro give it a go. Zippy has so many mods for so many Balisongs, and his customization options are unrivaled in this community, and he's a great dude with great customer service, so give him a follow, support his stuff, he's great. We'll talk more extensively about the Vulp Pro in future videos, but know that I do love how it flips, and it is a huge, huge upgrade over the original Vulp. And to those who have bought a Vulp Pro, thank you so much for the support. The launch of it was awesome and we've gotten some amazing feedback. Overall, it's been very positive, but there are some quality control things that need to improve, and we're gonna make sure that they improve on future iterations of the Vulp Pro. You can check the pinned comment on this video to see a rundown of all the things that we plan to improve. And if you'd like some unbiased opinions of the Vulp Pro, here's some awesome videos that I highly recommend you check out. You can follow me, Will, or Nabalis on Instagram to get the latest product updates for the Vulp Pro. Also, let me know what you think about this new office set. These types of videos are 100% entirely produced by me from start to finish, so I'm doing my best with what I got. You can see the Balisongs now. Ooh, look at the lighting. There's a light right here. There's a light up here. There's a light over here. It looks like a lightsaber. Wow. And huge thank you to our Patreon supporters, as always. Our VIP patrons were actually the very first people that got to see this completed mod. Everyone over there is so much fun. I love seeing people hang out in there more, even being in our voice chats, having conversations till like 4 in the morning. It's really cool to see, and if you want to join them, tiers start at just $3 a month. We got a lot of great people over there that know a ton about these bad boys. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have an appointment to turn into a poorly photoshopped PNG so that I can ride my poorly photoshopped albino sentient moose into the sunset. Yo-hee, I'm gonna ride my truck in the creek and do some money. Y'all, brother, and drink a Curse Light. Look at me ride. Well, I'm still going into sunset. Whoa!